don't hear the sound, but that might be on my end.
Let's try this again. Hey, how's everybody?
Hey, what's going?
What's going on, you guys? What is going on? Actually, I probably need to switch here to that. Welcome to another
Live at 5 with the girl.
Hey, how
And we have one of our ambassadors, John Michael Butler of Sustain Your Biz Academy, joining us this evening on the topic of what's been going on with you as a CEO and how you are communicating with your staff. Here at Sustain Your Biz Academy, what do? We bring you informative topics so that we can help you in your biz so that you can sustain it. And if you haven't heard on the news about Tom Cruise, you know, a lot of people are leaving because of his rant. Um, and so we're going to talk today. We're going to dive in on effective communication with your staff or your employees or even your contractors. Like, how are you talking to them? And I want to make sure that we are all in this place because this has been a rough year. Can we say that again? Rough year for many, many businesses, large and small. As you can remember, if you remember any of my talks before about staying focused on your task and not looking at other businesses, I'm going to probably talk next week about how many businesses, large businesses, multi-billion-dollar businesses that have now closed their doors in the midst of the pandemic. So in the midst of all of that, how are you feeling about doing business today? And some of that could be up here. And then that kind of pushes you into how you are talking with your staff. So what was your take, John, on the Tom Cruise incident?
Yeah, it's like I kind of it was kind of like I had mixed feelings initially. Now, like I've years ago, I went to school for film and theater and have worked on sets and have worked in the industry, so I understand how stressful it can be. With 2020 being what it is, I mean, a lot of productions had to shut down earlier in the year because of COVID, and it wasn't until they got some things in place, to be safe, that they were even able to start ramping up production again. So a lot of people were put out of business. Now, this isn't just the actors and the directors and the people on set, but it's, if you think about it, a lot of production takes place, for example, in Vancouver. And the second they were shut down, think about it, in any city where someone actually has a film industry or TV industry, all of the hotels, all of the restaurants, everything that's surrounded by that, like in Vancouver, they, if you think about it, like the CW, a lot of their shows are produced there. So the second they were shut down, it impacts everything. So now, now that people were coming back, and Tom Cruise and his production company felt this also. They're used to investing millions and millions of dollars. They have insurance, all these different things, and it's a whole think of it as a whole city that's basically hired to produce a film, and it's everything from the distributors to the movie theaters. So it's up and down the line. So in that sense, and understanding how important it is for the people in this industry, yeah, we know the big name stars, we know the big directors that make a lot of money, but if most actors are spend most of their time unemployed. So when they do get a job, that's money that they're counting on for their family, for their insurance, if they're even in a union and they have insurance for this period of time. So they're counting on a certain amount of income for a certain amount of time. So if you're on a multi-million-dollar production like Mission Impossible, and this is a worldwide phenomenon, makes money for people all over the world, and Tom Cruise is not just the top of the top billed actor. He's the executive producer. He's producer. Like, those movies don't get made without Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
So let me see if I can pull it up. But I mean, he went in on the crew. He really, really went in. Hold on, let me see if I can.
And if you could bring it up, I can kind of give some background even on it afterwards.
Yeah. Let's see.
I don't hear the sound of my
goodness.
There we go. I just heard something. I can see it, but I don't hear the audio coming from your end. But everyone can see the closed captioning. But basically, if you're reading the closed captioning, and basically he was going in on, I mean, if you think about it, kind of similar to the NBA and even baseball did this. A movie set is in a bubble, basically. So they agree that they're in essence kind of quarantining. So they're supposed to follow specific guidelines that everyone agrees to, so that you're not taking a chance of infecting anyone or being outside of that bubble, that safety bubble that you've created, whether it's, everyone is going to be in one hotel, you're only going to have food brought in, all these different things. So imagine if you do that and you're under quarantine and someone goes outside of quarantine and goes somewhere else. So now you're exposing everyone else. And if, and for most of these movie sets, and this is typically according to local ordinances, if you have one violation or if you get one person infected, you have to shut down for 2 weeks, basically. And each hour on a movie set is money. So you can imagine if someone broke protocol and now someone gets infected with COVID, now the movie's shut down, and then, God forbid, multiple people or, actually on-air talent gets infected. So now you can't film. and it costs money to be there. It costs money to have people there, to feed people. And if you're not actually filming, you're just throwing money away. So as an executive producer in Tom Cruise's point of view, he's the top of the tent pole. He's the man. So I can understand why he was angry and furious about, because this is going to impact, as he was saying, if you kind of could read it, he was basically saying this impacts everyone, not just the people on the set, but people back home. So you're talking about hundreds of people. I mean, and maybe worldwide, 1,000 people, if you think about it overall, all the different industries impacted. You're still muted, Dr. T. So
to movie theaters, it's going in,
everything.
but it's going everywhere, and so the one thing that I did want to talk about is, how are you as a CEO effectively communicating the stresses of that? And I think, yes, I got his point on, where this was, but I won't say that effectively communicating that with explicit words was the right way to go about it. I can understand this frustration because I've as a CEO, I've been there where it's very frustrating when things are not going well, or it's your name on the line. Like when you're the CEO, it doesn't matter what goes on. And as a private doctor, as a private practice, matter of fact, I'm dealing with something now that even though the staff is doing X, Y, and Z or not doing X, Y, and Z, they're looking at the CEO as, oh, well, then that's your problem. So I think Tom Cruise, although like he's correct in saying, if people are not wearing their mask, if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, sticking with the protocols, and all that stuff, it definitely is going to be trickled down. And that's money. That's money that he's put out to help you with the job, to put that in. And think about it. For those that are employed, a lot of times their mentality is they just want a check. It's not a career per se, and it could be that semblance too, with the crew. I don't know too much about movies. However, mentality wise, the mental state of people in the midst of this, everybody is elevated from CEO down to employees. So although he ranted, and then now there's a mass exodus, I'm thinking, well, maybe there might be something else involved in there, or it's like, you know what, maybe it was time to clean house because people weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing in the first place.
And I think that's an important point, is the anger is not the problem. It's how you respond and communicate. And personally, I feel it's okay to be angry and people to know you're angry. And regardless of what language you use when you're talking to people, how you talk to them is everything. So in this scenario, I feel, because of who Tom Cruise is, and the fact is he literally is the man on the set, he could have been just as effective by just matter of fact saying, look, I'm going to say this once for everyone. So if you did it or you didn't do it, I'm giving everyone this message at the same time. If it happens again, whoever it is, you will be fired immediately. I don't want to have this conversation again. Because of how much cachet he holds, his word is gold on that side. So he could have been just as effective being very matter of fact and say, don't test this. The next person that does this will be fired. And that no ifs, ands, or buts. There will be no chances. And I think that would have been just as effective without, you can't. And I think sometimes you see this in sports too, where, I would say in college sports, because in professional sports, these people have contracts and the players will be there longer than the coach. And coach is everything. And sometimes you would see historically bad behavior or bad actors by head coaches where they're just ripping into these kids. And the same thing. It's like, you got to treat adults like adults. Yeah. If these people did what they did and they shouldn't have done it, there's a way to handle that. And without belittling people and talking down to people. You can get a warning across and people will quite well understand you mean what you say without having to yell, to curse. And this goes in any scenario, whether you're a little league coach, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a small business, large business, whether you're leading a team, or even as a ministry leader in church. And I'm not saying that you'll be cursing at people, because you're not supposed to do that. But I'm just talking in general, how you talk to people and how you treat people, even as a father, how you talk to your children. I think it resonates. You can be stern without really ripping into people, and because then they just hear the noise and they don't get the message at that point. Then people will react with anger. It's like, you ain't gonna yell at me any way you want to. Who do you think you are?
Right, exactly. And so that brings me to tip number 1. Be clear and concise. Making sure that you're not having any confusion going on, keeping it simple and clearly outline expectations with your staff. So, I always say to always have this manual. Like I talk about, there's this book in my office, we call it the Bible. Like literally, I go step by step by step as to what is expected. And most major corporations, most people have their employee manuals. But also in there, you need to make sure when we're talking about communicating with your staff, with consultants, or whoever, you want to make sure that you are clear in making sure that you're outlining the expectations of the employee. So I'll give you an example. When you do an interview and they come in, they need to know that job description. So that's that clear communication written as to what you are expecting in this position. So I know for me as an optometrist, my motto is that I cross-train. So if the billing person is not in, if the front desk is not in, everybody should know what they have. So pretty much everybody have the same title. You are the office assistant. However, when you come in here, I look at your skills and all of that to determine where we're going to best suit to place you. Yeah. And then set the tone at the top. So as a CEO, you're the leader, right? You're the individual. So you should be visible and accessible. And there needs to be an understanding that there's a collaboration between yourself and the CEO and the staff. And I would say that part of probably being on set or whatever, is there a intermediate person to kind of almost like a manager to kind of relay, these are the expectations? Because sometimes CEOs don't always want to be upfront to talking to all the staff. Like you really don't see in major corporations, you don't see that CEO unless you're on and even in Undercover Boss, that's my favorite show. You don't even know that that's the CEO. He or she is undercover. So however, the tone is set at the top. So if he quote unquote, and I'm not putting judgment on Mr. Cruz, if he's quote unquote like this, how do you think he is in general? Does this put him in that, based on this rant, does this put him at that point where he's always like this, or just something really put him over the edge to say, hey, I needed to vent?
Yeah, I don't even know. And I think just the way that industry works is I think people are so fearful of there's people you just don't want to cross. And it could be a scenario where he's always like this and no one's willing to speak about it. Or this was just out of character. I just don't know. I mean, it's, different people said different things, like they enjoy working with him, a lot of the same directors he's worked with, and on movies, you usually have people that work together a lot. Directors, like certain directors of, photography, that's the person that really, the cinematographer basically, or assistant directors, they have B units, which is kind of like, you have your main cast filming, but then you have the people that are filming like exteriors or the stuff that the background, all that type.
Right.
So
All that stuff. Yeah.
there's a hierarchy. You have assistants, you have producers that'll be on set, executive producers, people that are in charge of script, craft services. Just like with any business, you have people that have specific roles. There's the people that write the checks.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these different things, but as in his role, it's different than maybe a lot of different people, because he's as executive producer, he picks the directors. He does a lot of different things. He picks whoever's gonna produce the script. He has a lot of different roles, and basically he's earned it because he's been producing with his production partner. He's been doing this for years, and he's a bankable commodity.
So that goes to number 3 then, understanding your employees. I kind of said that before. So maybe in some sense, he had people that's on the set that may not have been doing what they were supposed to be doing. And one of the things that I probably recommend for all of your CEOs, especially in small businesses, is have a space for, and I think I talked about this probably back in July, have a set time where a person can come to a CEO. As a small business, you're the CEO. So have a set time that either you're meeting to kind of air grievances, and that could have been a meeting.
Yeah.
A staff meeting where it was airing grievances.
Yeah. It could have been handled differently. I mean, but you would think, but then the fact that people record stuff, and I have my feelings about that. You
putting it out there because you're trying to get some money.
But at the same time, it could have been handled 2 ways, and it could have been part of the same thing. First, have the conversation in private with the people that did this, in the sense of, whatever your assistant set, whoever's in charge of the set, have them there, your whoever you need to have that conversation first, and let them know, now I'm going to tell everyone this same message. I'm not going to single you out. I'm not going to say who did it, but I just want you to know, we know you did this. Now we're going to give the message to everyone so that everyone understands. So you got to pass this time, but I'm going to let everyone know that, this cannot happen, So,
and you know what, now that I'm going to number 4, number 4 is use many channels of communication. So one of them is written, one of them is at meetings, one of them is maybe face-to-face, like you said. One of them is probably with HR, and, but be sure that the message is consistent across these channels. So I'm wondering, with this, of course, again, I don't, it is what it is. I'm wondering if those messages were already given. Those messages were already probably given, and then somebody probably, I'm saying, and I'm not judging people, but the person that recorded it was probably one of the ones that was making the notion that this was wrong, and maybe that person was wrong too.
Yeah, and then you have to think about it. It could be isolating. A lot of times when people are on these movie sets, they're away from home for months. They don't have their family. So and in this COVID world, I can understand that the psychological part of it, where people get stir crazy. I mean, people really do.
I'm not giving into that notion. I'm gonna disagree with you on that.
Look, I'm trying to play both sides. I'm like, look, you can say stir crazy. I agree with you. It's like, nah, I'm not taking a chance. But, and it could just be, these could be people that haven't worked with them before, because that crew is huge. So you're going to have certain people you work with all the time. And then you might have your contract employees, your day players, maybe people that or local talent, whether it's carpenters, whether it's, sometimes you just hire people locally. Things. So it could have been many things, but I'm sure people signed an agreement. I guarantee you, when they, agreed to be a part of this, they signed whatever contract, whether it was through a third party that hired them, or they were hired directly by the studio or the production company. I guarantee you they signed an agreement to do X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
And just hopefully this wasn't because they were lax about it, or maybe someone higher up on the staff was doing it, and they figured,
When
oh,
it,
somebody,
I could do it too. Yeah.
I can do
Mhm.
it too, because I'm sure in any large organization, sports team, whatever, you're gonna have that. Well, the superstar, plays by their own rules.
And that's number 6. Do what you say you're going to do. Otherwise, you undermine your credibility, and employees are less likely to believe or take future communication seriously. So it could be him, not
which I doubt it. But it could have been someone in that hierarchy.
higher hierarchy and everybody else is lax.
It's got to be lead by example.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then number 7 is emphasize face to face. I said that before, maybe finding that time to meet with somebody. And then the number 8 is training. I think maybe in this instance, because there might have been so many violations with this, that maybe he should have brought in somebody from like the CDC or somebody to kind of go over COVID-19 training that is not from him. Because I always like to say that as a CEO, you kind of play that mom and that dad type of mentality of your staff. Oh, here go mom again complaining about the work that we didn't do, right? So in bringing in somebody else, almost like when you're talking with your children, that maybe bringing in somebody else that they'll be able to understand a little bit better. So maybe in this instance, it's saying, hey, is this the problem? We need to bring somebody in here and talk with the I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let them know that this is crucial, this is important, and we're going to bring in outside people to kind of talk to you how important it is. If you're not understanding this, then you're in violation of your contract, and we're going to have to let you go.
Yeah.
And again, communicating regularly is number 9. Communicating that every day. And like I said, he might have been frustrated and probably was communicating that every single day.
It could have been behind schedule. It could have been a bad day. They could be dealing with weather. I mean, there's all these different things. This is a man that jumps off buildings, jumps on airplanes. I think for this latest movie, he's actually going to go up on a space shuttle. So,
oh, wow.
So I can understand, everything from insurance, from course overruns to getting out of hand. You don't want to, you don't want to be a legendary movie that is notorious for going way over budget. You don't want to be that footnote in history. You don't want to be a Waterworld. You don't want to be a Heaven's Gate. And I'm talking inside baseball, but these are movies that were known for just their budget just going way beyond ended up making. And they, people always say, hey, you don't want to be another so-and-so.
Right.
You don't want to fall into that. I don't think that's the scenario here, but you just got to realize, I'm sure they're already behind schedule in the sense of when they probably wanted to plan to release the movie to when they had to adjust because of COVID and the fact that they probably either they had started production and had to stop, which is a cost because now you don't want to break down those sets. You got to pay for that and then build them back up, or they just started late because, these are planned out, years in advance. You want to get on that distribution schedule and, a Tom Cruise movie will move to the top, but it impacts a lot of things that a studio's doing because now if his movie is moved to a different date, it's going to impact
everything else. Yeah. And so the last tip is, facilitating conversation. So one-way conversation is a thing of the past. Employees who feel listened to have enhanced feelings of trust. And there are many ways to facilitate two-way conversations, including face-to-face meeting, interactive videos, employee surveys, questions and answers on company internet or suggestion box. Employees significantly influence the outcome of any project. We just said that, right? If you communicate strategically and with purpose, you're more likely to see all your employees working at a common purpose toward a shared organizational goal. Effective employee communication allows everyone to stay firm, be informed, work together, share organizational responsibilities, and it keeps the employees engaged and eager to contribute to the company's success. So again, it starts with the culture of what you're putting in. I've said this before. What is your office culture? What is your business culture? What is your premise of how you are treating your employees? Gone are the days where I say to do this and you must do it.
Yeah.
They're people
People
and
want
they have feelings.
Yeah, people want to be valued. They don't want to be treated like furniture. They want to feel like what they brought to the table impacted the total thing, big or small.
Yep.
If you think I'm lying, stay to the end of a movie that you have and watch how many minutes of credits there are. Every single person that worked on that, from craft services, like you'll see things you've never heard of.
Oh, I know.
And that means something. People, it's not just a check for people that work in these industries. It's, you know, whether it's their parents seeing their name up there, it's a sense of worth. It's something that they created that's going to be there forever. And that name is important, you know, and the fact that they were involved in a certain project, that's part of their resume forever.
Yeah.
And to know that, you know, even if they're the person that, you know, was the backup makeup person, the wig.
You said the backup.
I'm the person that just brought the tea, craft services, the person that, you know, drove the car. I mean,
yeah.
Watch some credits. Go back and look at a Mission Impossible.
Oh, I know. I usually
all
say
of those
for credits.
And there are,
I was gonna be like, why are you still saying?
You're like, boy, you're like, who's this? They thank local restaurants, they thank taxi services, they thank the local, you know, the government, the local mayor's office. I'm telling you, the person that, you know, carried the chairs, the person that, you know, put the donuts out, you know, this is important. All these different things, and people want to be valued in any organization, whether it's your church, whether it's your family, it's all the same. If you really think about it,
the same. Yep.
People value, and you have to treat them like they are important. It's not just lip service. And that's, you know, like Dr. T said, that two-way communication, that engagement. Whereas not only are you listening to what I'm saying, but you're actually going to do something based on my feedback. Because otherwise people are like, oh, you're just you're hearing what I have to say and my comments are just thrown away. No,
thrown away. Yeah.
People know that what they're saying is important, and that value, and that you think the individual is important to the whole.
Yeah. So we talked about today of effective communication with your staff as a CEO and how you're showing up as a CEO. And we kind of went back with the Tom Cruise rant and how, you know, it's been in the media about how he talked to his staff. So we said number one is be clear and concise. Number two, set the tone from the top. Number three, understand your employees. Number four, use as many communicating channels as you can. Number six, match action with words. Okay. Number five, match actions with words. Number six, emphasize face-to-face communication. Training is another one. Communicate regularly and facilitate conversation. Mm-hmm. So as we close, we just want to let you know that here at Sustain Your Biz Academy, this is what we're about. We're about coming on and we're sharing on tips and ways on how you can improve your business. And a lot of times I think CEOs have in their minds, and we're going to have, this is the last conversation, that this is mine, this is my baby, and it has to be, you know, my way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. T has done that initially, you know, like, especially, you know, this is my business, I founded it, I'm gonna make sure it runs, and this is how it's supposed to be. Oh, you don't want to do what I say to do? There's the door. Gone, like you said, it's gone are the days of not respecting your staff. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think that's key. You know, you can't treat people like disposable furniture or props. You just can't. You know, it has to be a community. Yeah, there has to be a hierarchy. Someone has to lead and be in charge, but it's not just mindless drones, you know, just pressing a button. You know, that's not what you need. You want to collaborate and let everyone involved, from, you know, the person that just started to the person that's been there for years, that their input matters. and that they're bringing something unique to the table that makes everything better.
And I think you hit that, because I think sometimes too, again, it goes back to culture, right? Are you, from the one that just was hired to the one that's been there a long time? Some of those that have been there a long time kind of feel intimidated about some of the new staff that comes on. Oh, they're going to take my position, or they're going to take my place. So how you have to cultivate of a mindset. And this is why I say I'm a coach, and I'm that coach, that life coach and that sustainability coach that actually takes you where you are and tries to switch your mind to think about how you're processing things, because sometimes we're not processing right, even as your staff. So even if you go to academy@medismybiz.org, you will also find that we actually help with staff training. So maybe Tom Cruise needs to call Dr. T. So we can talk about mindfulness, being in that place of respecting one another, regardless of what your position is, regardless of what your duties are. Listen, COVID is real, and I'm gonna let you know, I may have gone there with Tom Cruise. Because if it's billions of dollars, I might have used some choice words myself, and I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's right. I don't believe that it's right. However, he is human, and he's allowed to make mistakes, as all of us have. Although he is a movie star and a producer and actor and all this stuff like that, he is still a man, and he's still human. And his feelings got the best of him, and he went off. And if y'all didn't like what he had to say, that's why y'all left. But the other one is, if the shoe was on the right foot, then maybe those are the people that had to leave.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm sorry, y'all.
Hit the road, Jack. Sometimes people gotta go.
Just saying, make room for somebody that really respects the industry, really respects and wants to earn an income and wants to be there and absorb the experience. I remember I was the backup eye doctor. See, backup, right? Backup eye doctor for the Eagles Eyemobile. I still am. However, we went to the Super Bowl, but we couldn't do all that stuff with the Super Bowl. Was I angry? I was like, what? I'm here at the Super Bowl. I ain't gonna never be here again. I'm sitting up there and enjoying the football game, enjoying the halftime show that we're normally seeing on TV, seeing actors, seeing the football players, and I'm just like, so yeah, I mean, for people not to really want to be a part of a movie like this, like you just said, there's a lot of pieces in there.
Oh yeah.
And y'all need to act right on that. He flipped his lid.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. I've been the understudy. I've been the ensemble, which, this is just people that's part of the show, but they don't have any lines. They sing backup, man. I've been the tree. I've helped build sets. I've helped.
Right.
And the excitement, I don't care what anybody says. If you're in the industry and the excitement, I got to tell you, I can't see how anyone would not want to be part of a Tom Cruise production. I don't care what anybody says, because you're going to be in some exotic location. But again, you got to follow the rules.
You got to follow rules. That's it. And like there were probably many infractions. And so I say this to say, if y'all are working somewhere, follow the rules. Don't think that your CEO or your manager is just like on your back or whatever. There are some. I'm not negating that. However, just make sure that you're crossing every T and dotting every I as an employee, and as a CEO, be mindful of the words that come out of your mouth. Okay? Because sometimes I'll just go to page number 2 and go down to section B. You see right there? That's enough. Have a great day. Because I can't say anymore. I mean, so we're in a tough time, And like I said, I think everything is up here, even with some of the social media stuff and different professional Facebook groups that I'm in. It's like I even had a friend call and was like, I'm done. I'm done with seeing patients. Like these people coming up in here like it's not COVID. Like it's not, and she's fearful of her life.
Yeah.
Working every day. So yeah, no, we can't. Tom Cruise, he went off, and if it, like you said, if the shoe fits, wear it. Maybe he shouldn't have used some choice words. However, read in between those choice words. He said some profound stuff. And basically, this movie is feeding a lot of people that otherwise would not have a job. So, yeah. And it, like you said, it trickles down for even when it comes to your movie theater, to those teenagers that are working, that are, as that's gotten that job, that's trying to say, hey, mom, dad, I'm going to be responsible and get a job. It's trickle down, people. So, of course, maybe he shouldn't use choice words like we said before. However, I believe that this was about to happen. It was just a volcano that needed to explode. And you know what happens when things get burned. It's just a way for things to regrow. So,
yep,
that's about that. So thank you, John, for coming on today. You will start seeing John a little bit more on Sustain Your Biz. You can also follow him on Multifarious Man 2015 for his podcast and his Facebook group. I usually every Monday, right? Every Monday you're posting your podcast?
Yes, historically that is correct.
Okay, so every Monday you'll see a link to his podcast on Sustain Your Biz Facebook page. All right. So again, we were talking about how to show up as a CEO, how to effectively communicate with your staff. This is your girl, Dr. T.O.D. with Sustain Your Biz Academy. And of course, our ambassador, John Michael Butler. And we are here to help you win. What does winning mean? Welcoming in the new you, investing in yourself, and to never, ever give up on you. Check the Academy out. We have some amazing classes going on in there, some free stuff, some books, and we are working more and more each and every day to bring some quality product to you regarding sustaining your biz. We'll see you on the other side. Be blessed.